All right, so the prompt for today is, many people believe that modern patterns of work lead to stress. What do you think are the causes of this, and what might be some possible solutions? Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Okay, Sylvia, why don't we start with you? Why do you think that modern patterns of work lead to stress? What are some aspects of work these days that lead to stress?
And modern patterns, how to properly understand this, modern patterns?
That's an excellent question. Without me telling you, let's say you just sat down to write this exam, no one's there to help you. What do you think it means?
Something like, for example, hours at work are longer recently than earlier, like in some past years.
Could be. Is there anything from the modern world that you think contributes to a more stressful work environment?
More technology.
Now you're on the right track. Can you be more specific?
Now everything is electronic and everyone needs to know computers very well before, for example, at some stores or something, you didn't really need to use computer, but now it's everywhere.
So we're going to call that entry-level work. Okay, so instead of saying a simple job or basic work, you can call it entry-level work. Right? Okay. Oksana, does that help or?
So it's, I don't know, it's not maybe, but it's not really helpful. For example, modern patterns and entry-level work, right? So that's what I have to understand, that computers make people are stressed, or what?
Well, you would need to explain how.
Oh, really? But I think computers are making easy our like, you know, they help to make our lives more easier.
That is your perception. See,
Okay.
here's the thing about writing essays. You can say whatever you want as long as you give reasons for your answer and include relevant examples. As a professor told us in this third-year philosophy class that I took, it was about the intellectual history of the Western world, and this is where we studied in depth like essay writing principles and principles of argumentation. He said, in kind of Western philosophy and Western academics, you can argue whatever you want. You can argue that the moon is made out of cheese as long as you provide evidence. Okay, it doesn't matter. Just from personal experience, I think computers are awesome. I think writing using a computer is 100 times more enjoyable than writing pencil and paper. But I know other people who hate writing on a computer. They still want to mail letters to people. I know a lot of teachers who despise computers, who want nothing to do with them and just want to give them some chalk and a blackboard, and that'll make them happy. So it's all about people's perceptions, right?
Yeah, but maybe also, you know, we can include that patterns of work. It's long hours of work also make people like stress out or something like that, you know?
Yeah. How is that a modern phenomenon? Because if you say long hours,
Mm-hmm.
is that a new phenomenon, or do people have shorter hours now than they used to have?
I believe they had before shorter hours. I believe, I don't know.
I mean, in the old days,
Exactly, yeah, in the old days, yeah.
the hours of work, if you worked in a factory, were really long.
Oh, really?
Yep. I know it in China, for example, a lot of factory workers, they work 13 out of 14 days. Okay, they get 1 day off every 2 weeks.
But also now, for example, right, people are working on like under the okay, the cameras are all the time monitoring them, right? And people probably I don't know how to properly explain,
Hmm.
but I think it's also make people stressed out because they know that cameras are monitoring them during the day shift, right? And it's also make them stressed out.
Okay, and what do you call that? Monitoring by cameras, what's one word?
They are being controlled.
Good. This is
Surveillance?
that's a good word that you know, surveillance.
Yeah, surveillance, yeah.
Um, okay, when you're talking about long hours of work, people in the old days used to work, I think in many cases, morning till night at their job. Not everyone, of course, but many people did. But what's the modern equivalent? Because now the government says if you work over 40 hours a week, you have to get paid overtime, right? So employers don't want to give people overtime because it's very expensive. But a lot of people, like for example, um, I know a lot of employers, especially private employers, they executive compensation keeps going up, 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 up. But compensation for regular workers is the same as it was many years ago. And if you factor in inflation, wages have actually gone down for many people, right? So what do employees do when they don't earn enough from their day job?
They are looking for another job.
Exactly. I know lots of people in this boat that they, for example, are a janitor. The janitor at a public school makes close to $100,000 per year. Okay. The janitor at our private school makes minimum wage. Okay, and he's been making minimum wage forever. The only time he ever gets a raise is if the government raises the minimum wage. So what does he do after work? And by the way, he's like the hardest working guy in the school. After work, he goes to his other job where he cleans up restaurants for most of the evening. And then on the weekend, he's got more like restaurant maintenance type work. So he works, I don't know, if you add up the hours, 60, 70 hours a week. So that's the example I would talk about. I would say long hours of work, maybe due to, so if wages are not going up, what's a good adjective that I could put in here? What do you call water that's not moving?
Insufficient?
No, Dina, I'm pretty sure you know this word, but I want to see if maybe Sylvia can guess what it is.
Steady? I'm not sure.
Okay, stagnant wages. Stagnant means not moving in a negative sense. So in the summertime, the government publishes warnings to people that if you have a backyard, look for stagnant water and make sure to get rid of it, because stagnant water attracts what? What does stagnant water attract? Mosquitoes, right? So if you've got like an old pool that's lying in the backyard, it's going to fill up with rainwater. That water is going to turn dirty, and you're going to have a mosquito breeding ground there, right? Stagnant wages, wages that are not going up. Okay, so let's look at some information, some statistics that can help you with this question. I'd like you to incorporate these statistics if they work for you. Okay, are you able to see this? Or is it too small? Wait, maybe I'll bring it down, and I got two of these. Okay, there we go, that's better. Okay, what is the average work week for OECD countries? Or how many hours per year does an average OECD worker work?
$1,746.
1746, it's the one right here in the middle. Okay. Mexicans, South Koreans, oh my gosh, that's insane, right? And then on the other end of the scale, you've got these Germans. What is going on? And all this fancy technology, all this amazing engineering, and these people barely work. They're working like 25% fewer hours than we are. Sorry, than the average anyway. We're in Canada, we're at 1,700, they're at 1,400. 300 hours, 340 hours a year less, right? Am I correct? Yes. 340 hours a year less. How many weeks of work is that? That's 8 weeks of work less than Canadians. I'll bet you that's what it is. They probably have 2 months of paid vacation. That's probably why that number is so low, whereas we have, what, 2 weeks paid vacation? 3 weeks if you're lucky. And then we've got this stat. Share of workers working 60 or more hours per week in their main job. Any surprises here?
For me, yes, I thought on the first place it should be China, but here is Turkey.
Mm-hmm. And South Korea. Can you imagine that? Nearly a quarter of the workers have to work 60 hours or more a week? Yeah. Indonesia, India. Yes, I was very surprised when I saw these. Okay, so here's an interesting article from, it's about European countries and this whole attitude to work and to technology. Before I look at this article, it's just a few lines. It'll just take a minute for us to go through. Let's talk about the second half of the question. So we've got our causes here. What about solutions? Sylvia.
Rising the minimum wage.
And how would that work?
If people get paid more, they're willing to pay to work harder.
Mm-hmm. Or well, okay. One thing to keep in mind with this type of essay, causes and effects, that the causes and solutions rather, if you talk about this cause or this cause or this cause, then your solutions need to be related to those causes, right? Because it kind of doesn't make sense to talk about one type of cause and then a different type of solution. So if, let's say this is going to be one of your arguments, what would be the solution to this that involves raising the minimum wage? How would raising the minimum wage help to fix this problem?
That people are not gonna have to look for a part-time job and they are gonna be focused only on the main job.
Exactly. One thing to keep in mind that I'm going to put here is that in the solution section, you need to use unreal conditional. Okay. Also, you need to use passive voice. Okay. Raising the minimum wage, people wouldn't need to work as many hours to make ends meet. This is a really nice sentence loaded with great vocabulary and unreal conditional. If I were you, I would memorize this one. Okay, and if you want to put the whole thing in unreal conditional, if the government raised the minimum wage, people wouldn't need to work as many hours to make ends meet. Does everyone know the expression to make ends meet?
Not really.
Make ends meet means pay for your bills, pay your expenses. It's a common expression. When people don't make enough money, they will often say something like, I just can't make ends meet. It's really hard to make ends meet. It's good to get rid of that. Okay. Now, you need to show that you know how to use passive voice. How would you change this to passive voice, Sylvia?
If the government would raise the minimum wage?
Yes. So you don't need to say if the government would raise, just say if the government raised. This ED is not past tense. If you have if, and it looks like past tense, but it's not, this is unreal conditional present. Okay, this is like an abstract general fact where the time doesn't matter. If time doesn't matter, like the sun rises in the east, the sun sets in the west, we use present simple. This is also present simple. Minimum, if the government raised the minimum wage, that's present unreal conditional. Can you change this to passive voice? Sylvia, do you have any questions about passive voice or what it means or how to construct it?
Yes, how to construct it.
Okay, I'll give you my classic passive voice example. Okay. This is active voice, present simple. The bakers bake the bread at 5 a.m. Okay. Present simple, bake. Means it's true all the time, any day. There's nothing wrong with this sentence, but it's baby English. Because who bakes bread?
Bakers.
Right, it's not police officers, it's not judges. So if the subject is way too obvious, then it's better to change it to passive voice. Especially if you're, especially in situations where the subject is people. People is not a strong subject because it's usually obvious that you're not talking about cats and dogs, but people. Government is also sometimes, you can get rid of it because it's clear who is responsible for passing laws or punishing certain kinds of behavior.
So it would be like if they would raise the minimum wage?
Nope, that's still active voice because you've got if they would raise, if the government would raise, same thing. Let's do this one. So here, normally this is what you would call the subject of the verb, right? And what's this called? Okay, so the bread is called the object of the verb. Good. The way to do it is you take the object and you put it in front of the verb. I don't necessarily want to introduce more grammar terminology, but I'm going to. In this case, the bakers can also be called the agent of the verb. So if you got some medical background, this could be easy to remember. It's the agent of the verb. It's the thing that controls the verb. And you'll see why we have to use this different terminology in just a second. And the bread would be called the patient of the verb. The agent controls the verb, the patient is controlled by the verb. So what you do is you take the patient and you stick it in front of the verb. So it's going to be the bread. Okay, now what do we do with the verb, Sylvia?
Is baked.
There you go. And I've gotten rid of the bakers. You could put is baked by the bakers at 5 a.m., but it doesn't even sound good, right? It sounds like baby English. So again, this is not past tense. This is passive voice, present simple. So here, getting back to this example. What's the object of the verb in the highlighted part?
Minimum wage.
That's right. So put minimum wage before the verb.
The minimum wage would rise.
Very close.
Will.
Okay, and the rest is the same. This is the same as, if I don't know, something like this. If I were given. I could say if my boss gave me a raise, but it would be better to say if I were given a raise. Okay, again, this is not past tense. This is present simple, passive voice. Any questions about that, Sylvia?
No.
Okay. I'm just going to introduce this as a requirement. Most people are doing this because I think most people are aware that you need to use passive voice just to show that you can use it. But I want to introduce this as a requirement for you if you're not doing it already. And in this case, where you're talking about solutions, it usually makes sense to use unreal conditional, because these solutions are just like hypothetical ideas that we have. They're not real proposals that someone is suggesting that we do, right? So this is a very appropriate place to use this kind of grammar. Okay, good. Is there a solution for this?
Maybe some courses for computer skills for workers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let's just put that free computer courses to raise workers S apostrophe workers skills, increase competence, confidence, reduce stress. Okay. What about this idea of surveillance? Does anyone have an example of like a very famous company that keeps track of everything their workers do, down to the split second apparently? Here's your first hint. South American jungle river.
So Samsung for iPhones, or I mean for
No, this is your hint for the company's name. South American jungle river.
Amazon.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Tracks what workers are doing every second of the day, right? Right. And what happens if they don't like your stats? They let you go, right? I used to work for a call center where, and this is pretty common in call centers, where you'll have a regular weekly meeting with the supervisor to kind of give you a progress report or see how you're doing that week. And they'll say, oh, I noticed that on average you spent 6 minutes and 23 seconds in the bathroom every shift. And you're like, what? You're calculating every second that I went to the bathroom? And they're like, yep. And if you take too much time in the bathroom, we will replace you. So, all right, but in this situation where it's an employment situation, is there a solution to something like this?
Maybe give them longer breaks.
Okay, so again, that sounds like a government solution, right? Government should mandate longer break times. And I mean, if you want to come up with some creative rules to prevent a company like Amazon from doing this, then you can kind of invent your own rules or regulations. What does mandate mean? What word do you know that starts
Make them
with
mandatory.
yes? So mandate is the verb of mandatory. It's a less common version of that word, so if you use this, 2 thumbs up. Okay. So you can use this instead of saying government should pass a law so that employees have longer break times. Should pass a law to give longer break times. So this word replaces 6 words. That's what makes it an excellent word. Okay, whoops, and this needs to go up here. Just put that back there. Okay, I want to bring up one other issue. In the old days, when this is before the time of cell phones, if your company needed to get a hold of you after hours, they would call your home phone, right? And if you weren't home, they would leave a message. Okay, I'm not saying anything interesting, but these days, since nobody basically has a home phone and your company wants to get a hold of you, they call your cell phone. In many places, for example, when I was in China, this one friend that we had, she held her phone. She was always holding her phone, always, always, always. She wouldn't put it in her pocket, wouldn't put it in her purse. I didn't even notice that. I only noticed after she told me this. She said, just we were out with some friends and we were talking about work. She said, in our company, if the boss calls you at any time and you don't answer your phone, you're fired. It's that simple. That's why she was always holding her phone, right? She was afraid that if it's in her purse or if it's in her pocket, she wouldn't feel the vibration or she wouldn't hear it because the roads were noisy. So she literally clutching her phone for her life, for dear life, all the time. Employers can contact workers by cell phone and email at all hours. Okay. This is a real problem in many places. Is there any kind of solution to this?
But also government need to provide the law for the workers, but I think it's already a law, you need to work only 8 hours and after 8 hours, like it's your time, right? So employee, right? Did I properly say can't call you anytime.
Well, you're the employee. Employee means worker.
So employer can't call you after 8 hours, right, of your work.
Well, that's the thing. They can, unless they're not allowed to. So let's just read this very short piece here. Can you see this okay on your screen?
Yes.
Okay, Oksana, I'm going to have you start this one. Can you read these two first paragraphs?
Mm-hmm. Around the world, several governments have begun to go as far as legislate laws allowing employees the freedom to not have to engage with work outside of official work hours. France, in particular, has been ahead of the world in establishing legal frameworks protecting persons' right to disconnect. Back in 2001, the French Supreme Court ruled the employees are under no obligation to bring work home.
Okay, this is a very good sentence. Sylvia, can you do these two?
Germany is another country that has been grappling with these questions for several years.
What does grappling with mean?
Struggling with?
Yes.
German Employment Minister Andrea, not sure how to pronounce her last name.
Nales
has been calling for anti-stress laws since 2014, with the first phase of long-term research revealing in 2017 that the stress of being constantly in touch is indeed causing an increasing number of German workers to retire early. Volkswagen was first in implementing a company-wide freeze on email back in 2012. The company set its internal servers to not route emails to individual accounts between 6:15 p.m. and 7 a.m.
Okay. What does implement mean?
To start it in the company, like this
Yes,
idea,
that's
to
exactly it.
introduce it.
Mm-hmm. And Dina, can you do the last one?
Yes, from Germany.
Yeah, in 2014.
Sorry, I cannot see. Okay. Yes. In 2014, German automaker Daimler instituted an even more dramatic program.
Mm-hmm.
1 second, sorry, the light, yeah. Dramatic program, deleting all incoming emails to an individual when they are on holiday. The optional system is designed to send a reply to all incoming emails when a person is on holiday, notifying the sender that they are not in the office and that the email will be deleted. The idea is that not only will a holiday be left undistributed, but the worker can confidentially return to work without the looming stress of a packed inbox.
Okay. What's this word? The one I've highlighted?
Undisrupted.
That's it. Undisrupted. What does undisrupted mean?
Be left undisrupted. A synonym like without interfering.
Yes, not disturbed. Okay, and what about this word looming?
Without like the high stress of a packed box.
Yeah, looming is like
Evolving like.
no, it's more like a kind of a monster that's looming over you, ready
Like
to attack.
overwhelming.
Kind of like that. It's like something over your head that's gonna fall on your head, kind of. I'm really stressed because the project deadline is looming. Okay, it's like a monster coming to get you. Okay, so looming stress means the stress is approaching because you're done your holiday, and when you get back to work, what are you going to find? Right, you're going to find a packed inbox. What does packed mean here?
Overwhelming or overloaded.
Overloaded, completely full.
Oversaturated.
Yeah, like the subway was packed this morning. The bus was packed. I couldn't find a seat. Okay, so in your own words, Dina, what would be the solution to this? Just a summary of what we read.
To set up the hours from what time until what time the employer can contact you.
So, sorry, can you give me a full sentence?
Set up the hours from what time until what time the employer can contact employees.
Okay. So setup is not really precise. What's a more precise verb?
Organize and schedule.
I think that's getting more
Generalize.
more general, really hard to visualize. Like if you said this, I'd still be a little bit confused. There's a more specific verb.
Establish.
Establish the hours is okay.
Mm.
But really, I think the word you're looking for is limit or restrict.
Schedule the hour. Schedule
Yeah,
a fixed schedule.
schedule, or I think restrict. Restrict the hours
Or restrict the hour, yeah.
is the best option here. You can replace these 6 words with 2. It's kind of advanced grammar, but I'm wondering if any of you can figure it out.
Which 6 hours? 6 words.
These 6 words, the ones, when I highlight something on the screen, can you see it on your computer?
No, I need to move the screen because my last on the diagram itself. So now, yeah, I can see it. Restrict the hours from what time until what time? You mean these hours?
Mm-hmm. You can replace it with 2 words. The first word starts with B. The second word starts with W. Or actually, you could replace this with 1 word starting with W.
Why? My heart.
Not
I'll
why.
die.
No, these are simple words. Simple, super common words.
So restrict the hours.
Withdrawn.
In between.
Withdrawn hours.
That you said 1 word starting with W.
Yeah.
Restrict the hours.
Okay, so between, not in between, but just between which. Okay, a synonym for that would be during which the employer can contact you. But we can also just replace this with a single word, 4 letters, starts with W.
The whole hours whole.
When?
Boom.
Whenever?
Just one. But my favorite out of these 3 would be during which. Government should restrict the hours during which or between which the employer can contact you. Okay? And then I would talk about the fact that France has done this and that Germany has done this. Okay, and I would just then mention this has had a big effect on what? We saw a couple words that would fit in here. What are some of the verbs that we just saw? Sylvia. What verbs go together with law?
Government.
So you could say France and Germany. When I say France and Germany, I mean the French and German governments have such laws. What are some verbs that go together with laws? The government has a law to restrict work hours. Oksana?
Implemented, ruled,
Okay, implemented. Good. What was the other one you said?
ruled.
No.
No?
You don't rule a law. You can pass a rule. Oh, okay, I just gave you another one. Have passed such laws. What's another word that could work here?
Provided.
Nope.
No.
Improve.
It's not really an improvement, it's if it's something new. But it does start with I-N-S. T.
Instituted. No.
That's it.
Oh.
Instituted. Which has led to, just for this essay, how would you finish this sentence?
Which has led to obligate employers.
Hang on. Right now, this is our second part. We're talking about solutions, right?
Okay.
So what has been the consequence for workers? Which has led to?
Decreasing the stress.
To decreasing worker stress. Okay.
Mr. Yan, can I ask about lead to, or maybe at the end of the class? I have little doubt about it.
Okay, just one sec. Which has led to, which have instituted such laws which have proved effective at reducing worker stress. Okay, very, very nice sentence. Okay, Dina, go ahead.
Yeah, regarding this, I know led to, after it will be ing, but once like I ask you, you said if we like led worker to decrease. It's right or wrong? Like if we will put led worker to, which has led worker to decreasing again or decrease?
Just led employers to decreasing, caused employers to, which has led employers to decreasing the volume of communication. I think we talked about this one, which has led employers to decrease the volume of communication, which has led employers to decreasing the volume of communication. This one's more common.
I think when we answer me in the question, there is difference. If I said has led to ing, has led to with infinitive. If I say has led worker to, then ing. There is any difference, or always we put ing?
Led workers to, led employers to decreasing the volume, which has caused employers to decrease. Employers to decreasing, which has led employers to decrease the volume of communication. Both sound okay to my ears for led. Caused to decrease, led to decreasing or decrease, which has, but if you don't put the object, then you're absolutely right, which has led to ing, which has led to decreasing the volume of communication.
Okay, so led to plus ing, this is, if we put an object in this way, maybe we can use ing or infinitive.
Yes, and this is not so straightforward because it's which leads me to believe is a common expression. government has said there will be a big announcement tomorrow, which leads me to believe they will close schools for an additional 2 to 4 weeks. Let me just do a quick check.
Actually, because this lead to, we use it a lot in the essay. Either as if we are putting some result or in course solution, I use this word, so, and I do mistake.
Just a second. Okay. Let's do it like this. This, in some cases, can be both, but I think this rule could work.
Which one more safer?
Which one is safer?
Yes. I mean, that one which we say led to plus ing, this is no doubt about it, the first one.
So here, this is the same as this one. Instead of putting the two after employers, put it before.
Yes.
This has led to employers decreasing. This cannot be the infinitive. This has to be the ing. There's no choice here.
Okay, so what I understand, that better to put the object after to. So always to be on safe side and then put ing. Thank you very much.
Led to who doing what?
What? Okay, I got it. Alas. Always you answer my doubt. You can answer my doubt.
Sometimes it just involves asking the right question and then the right example. Honestly, you're the first person who's asked this specific question.
Yeah, the problem, I'm not sure if even my colleague Sylvia and others, because we are like learning the English as a second language. So sometimes when you tell us that you read it loud and you see your ears, maybe this one, it will happen later after a couple of years. Nowadays, or even now, I'm much better than before. I need to have a basic grammar, like math. This plus this is equal this. I cannot catch it. I'm not sure. Maybe now I need more time, or I need to learn more or read more. But I'm getting better. I can now. I feel maybe. But like these specific things, I don't know. I cannot, unless I understand. After let to, you have to put ing, or even when I write in the exam, I can apply whatever I learn. I can put it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. You're right. Because that word is so common, that phrase is so common, it kind of deserves its own. It deserves its own grammar lesson because it's not consistent. The rule is not consistently followed.
Because I ask you the question, you answer me, which I understand. Then I think I wrote one essay, and then again I got mistake. I will go back to it. Then I think now as you said, maybe when you put the who before to, after it, maybe there is two options. Either you put ing and maybe you put infinitive. For me, I cannot differentiate which one is correct.
But maybe if I do this now your ways, always I use lead to and then I put who after it, so I will end with ing all the time. I'll try and see.
Okay. Just
Thank
keep
you.
in mind that, my pleasure. Just keep in mind in this expression here, this leads me to believe. And this is a very common expression, Oksana. You're going to hear this a million times in your career. Don't change the order of these words.
Mm.
You're not going to say leads to me believing. No, no, no. It leads me to believe. So you would use this with a patient if you look at a symptom and then say, this symptom leads me to believe that you have blah, 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 blah. Let me just write that example down. These symptoms lead me to believe you are suffering from. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we've got very little time left in the class. In the chat box, please write your thesis statement. Okay. Okay, we've got a few minutes. Let's take advantage of it. And I'll write the, I'll put the prompt in the chat box too. Okay, I'll give you 3 minutes or so. Okay, let's check these two out. Okay. Dina, this one's yours. Long working hours.
Yes, is or are. It's for
Uh-oh.
working or hours for hours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Uh,
I thought it's for working.
okay. So modifiers, we don't pluralize, right? So what's the main noun here?
Main noun?
This is a noun phrase.
Yes.
It's just a big noun composed of 3 words. What's the main noun and which words are the modifiers?
The main noun, hours.
Yes. So long and working are both functioning as adjectives or as modifiers.
So are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But here, it's okay. We use it, this one plural and this one the main cause.
The long working hours are the main cause of high levels of stress in the modern style of work. In the modern style of work is, I'd say, awkward. Solution for this issue is for government to implement a law restricting working hours for employees. You don't need working hours. Okay. Any idea on how to revise this in a simpler way? Simplify, simplify, simplify. Just a very simple phrase.
Modern types of work.
Do you need the word modern?
Because style and modern, I think they are synonym.
Because the question is, many people believe that modern patterns of work lead to stress. Or you could, I mean, you can keep modern if you want to, but
modern work. Modern, I don't know.
In the modern workplace?
Modern workplace, yeah.
Or at work today. This is the first one I thought of. I thought this is the simplest way to do this.
Or the at current day of work.
No. Simple. Long working hours are the main cause of high levels of stress at work today. Zero possibility of confusion. Modern patterns of work. Okay, Oksana, exactly the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
What's the subject of this verb?
Is leading to people stress?
No. Patterns, right?
Yeah.
That's the main subject. So patterns has,
Oh, have. Oh, gosh.
yeah. Have, and led is just ed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. LEAD is the present version.
Mm-hmm.
Leads to. Modern patterns of work have led to people's stress. You need to paraphrase this because it's exactly the same in the question, in the prompt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can't do that. Have led to people's stress. The causes, okay. The causes of this can be long hours of work, entry-level work, or even hours after work when an employer. What about the solution?
Oh, yeah.
Oops. Okay. That's big trouble if you do this on the exam, because
Mm-hmm.
you've answered half the question.
Yes,
The causes of this can be long hours of work, entry-level work. It's not clear what this means,
Mm-hmm.
or even hours after work when either the employer or when employers can contact you, or even, okay, so this whole thing is a bit awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Causes of this can be long hours of work. It's not clear what this refers to. You don't need 3 causes. You're only writing 250 to 300 words, 2 body paragraphs.
Oh,
I wouldn't do 3 causes because it's just going to be a list and it's not going to, you don't have any opportunity for development at that point given the time limit. Even hours after work when employers.
Entry level of work, I would like to delete this,
Okay.
But how to summarize in beautiful sentence that employer can contact you anytime, I mean that one.
Okay, so put that here. The causes of
After
this can be long hours of work and
after work, oh gosh, I don't know.
employers. So don't say can be, just say the causes of this include,
Okay.
whoops, forgetting how to spell, include. Can be doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it literally means can be, cannot be, which literally means nothing. The causes of this include long hours of work and employers.
After work.
No, that's not the same idea. So employers, I'm just going to type really slowly and you try and say what it is.
Being, no. Oh, contact. Oh, okay. Being able, yeah. Able to call, to contact the employees. Oh. Mm-hmm.
When?
After work.
Good. Or let's just generalize and say outside work hours. Outside normal work hours. Okay, now it's good. And we got Sylvia's here too. There we go. Leads to more stress. Okay, good. Modernization of work. Okay, that's acceptable. Or
I couldn't really think of any like a synonym to the modern patterns. What else can I use?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's not so easy to think of a synonymous phrase for that. Modernization of work leads to more stress. I mean, the simplest way is this: work today.
Mm-hmm.
Because modern patterns of work is not specific. They haven't specified what exactly they are referring to, which means literally you can talk about anything that's related to the workplace today. So
Mm-hmm.
the easiest way to express that is work today. Long working hours are the main cause of high levels of stress at work today. Stress. Okay. Introduce new laws. New laws that can affect shorter hours of work. So the verb doesn't match the object.
Mm-hmm.
Because what does it mean, affect shorter hours? What's that word that we saw today? Starts with M-A-N.
Mandate.
That's it. However, there are some solutions that could help with that problem.
With government, shall we put better need to introduce, or better than can, or should? Or can we use can?
You can use can, it doesn't make a difference. Let's say the government could. Unreal conditional. Could introduce or could mandate.
Implement or mandate.
For example, shorter hours of work and longer breaks. Okay, so Sylvia, this is just, it's too many words. Pretty much everyone is kind of guilty of this. It's using too many words where a few simple words will do just fine. Trust me, as a reader, you would also prefer to read the version that has fewer words. Okay.
Yes.
Because every single reader, I guarantee you, when they read your stuff, they want to understand what you're saying. So if you can deliver your message using fewer words, especially shorter, simpler words, you're going to do a better job as a writer, as a communicator. Because again, your job is to communicate your ideas, not try to impress the reader with big vocab. Government could mandate, for example, shorter hours of work and longer breaks. Very nice. Okay, that's it. It's 9 o'clock, class is over. I'm going to post the writing location in the news forum in just 1 minute. It's going to be in Unit 13. Okay, and I'll share the class notes in just a minute too.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for Thursday at noon.
And for Saturday, you said there is no class, or there is online?
No,
Oh,
no class this Saturday.
At all?
Nothing.
So, yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Will be
I'll post a message about that too in just a few minutes.
yeah. And everything you'll update us by email.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Stay safe, and we'll
Thank
meet
you.
hopefully after
Okay.
some point when
Social
everything is again.
isolation, folks. Social
Yes.
isolation, right? Keep your distance.
Today I'm thinking about the benefit of social media. See, now in this situation,
There you go.
yeah,
Yeah, Amazon, Facebook, that is our future.
online
You don't have to.
shopping, yeah, and teaching, in many schools now start to teach. I mean, university and college, they continue their education online.
Everyone has to. No choice.
Yeah, okay. For you, no
Welcome,
difference because already you are online teacher.
welcome to the modern world. The plague
Yeah,
is outside. We're on the internet inside.
yeah. Okay, good night. Bye.
Take care.